Overrated, underrated, the new Sunset Boulevard.
Well, without getting too controversial.
Please welcome to the mic, Casey Balsham. It's Broadway, bitch.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to It's Broadway, Bitch with your host, your best friend, Casey Lorraine Balsham. Hello. Today in the studio, so excited for this guest, somebody I have heard about in the ethers for a while back when I was on my true crime game. The co-host of True Crime Obsessed, also Golden Girls Deep Dive, also Theater People, and then the Broadway Backstory, and I think, if I read this correctly, a My So-Called Life podcast.
Yes, I forgot about that one.
Well, it's in your on the computers. Patrick Hinds, everyone.
Hi.
Yay!
Wow, thank you, studio audience.
That's why I have the people sitting. 'Cause
Truly.
sometimes we do a sound button, but it's so much better when everybody
This
claps.
is amazing.
Thank you so much. We like everybody to feel loved and welcomed.
And I do. I feel so loved.
That's such a broad. I mean, when you think about it, it's a broad spectrum of podcasts, but it also is kind of.
It's just gay.
They all.
It's just gay. It's just straight across the board. It's just gay.
It's pretty gay.
It's pretty gay.
It's pretty gay. But you know what? The fact that now True Crime Obsessed is kind of blown up, and I was reading about kind of the success of that. It just goes to show you have to kind of throw shit at the wall.
Yeah.
Something's going to stick. That's why this is my 85th podcast. Thank you so much. Better listen, bitches. No, I also, we have a connection. This is what I wanted to say. I want to get right into our 6 degrees.
Please.
Theater People.
Yeah.
Your song was written by one of my best friends in the world, Bradley Bean.
That is so funny.
He wrote my song for this podcast.
He didn't even write it. What happened was I was back in the very beginning of Theater People. I was making it with my dear friend Vanya Arslanian, who is another.
I know. I've heard of Vanya through Bradley a million times.
And she makes an amazing podcast with my best friend Mike. And so they're in the podcast where Mike used to make Theater People with me after Vanya had to go do other things. But Bradley was Vanya's friend. I had a friend who had a piano in his apartment, and we didn't know any. This was back before royalty-free music. And
I know.
We just invited Bradley over. We're like, we're literally going to hold like a voice memo recorder to your playing a song. and he just made something up on the piano. It's on the Theater People Instagram. If you scroll all the way back, you can see him actually playing it.
Yes, I
Bradley
love it.
Bean, what a cutie pie.
I know. He played at my wedding. He was the piano, Mike. He was the guy that played
really?
when I was
That's
walking
so
down
cool.
the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also did, the night before our wedding, we did roasts and toasts. And so there was like skits, and he played, he fully had to like direct my mother in a skit that she wrote. So he's a saint in my book.
Oh my God. I remember meeting Bradley before I met my husband, and I was like, he's kind of cute. Maybe I'll marry him.
Oh my God, I would have loved that though.
That
would have been my dream personally.
He was like, I'm gonna pass, but thank you so much.
Thank you about that. Yeah, he's doing well though. He's back in Minnesota. He's working a lot. I'm hoping he comes back here and does, because he's extremely talented. And that's so look Bradley up. We're both fans.
Yes, hi Bradley.
Hi. So I loved that connection. But I want to talk about some of the podcasts you have going on right now, because Theater People is dead and gone.
Yeah, Theater People I did for 3 years.
Yeah.
I think I ended that in 2018 or something.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. I mean, the thing about Theater People was it was how I learned how to be a podcaster.
Yeah.
So, and
it's
literally,
a muscle.
Well, it is. And this was before Zoom and all of that. But even if it hadn't been, I wanted to do all my interviews in person.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a space. And I literally had 50 pounds of equipment. So it was like mic stands and microphones. I used to carry around in a suitcase this mixing board.
Yeah.
And we would drag it all to Pearl Studios and drag it up the stairs. And that was where I would meet whoever was coming to do the show that week. But that was really where I cut my teeth learning how to make a podcast.
And that was but you were also, you studied theater, right? You were a
kind
performer.
Of. I
kind of.
I had auditioned for my college's musical theater program. I did not get accepted.
There we go. Okay.
I then got, I went to the school anyway, and I got a degree. I have a BFA in theater studies. I always say I could write the 10 things I learned in college on an index card. But it was a very formative time in other ways.
Yeah.
But no, I never really, it's not that I didn't want to go to the acting classes, it's just that nobody told me where they were. I stole
You're
that
like,
joke. That's a joke stolen
I wasn't
from.
given a classroom number at all. Okay, perfect. So it puts you, but like being a theater study, so it puts you in this world where you knew about it, so you could like definitely like shoot the shit with other Broadway people.
For sure. And I'm a researcher, so whenever I would have
Right.
anybody on, and I used to get into panics about it, like I didn't know, and like no matter how much research I did, I never felt fully prepared.
Always.
You know, and
I know,
then they
I,
would
like,
show
have
up
my-
and exactly.
I've got my notes here, like.
And it's as though you think they're gonna quiz you on their well, what town was I
know.
born in and what year? You know
know.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And it like Annalie Ashford was never like that. She was always very nice.
She seems very nice. I met her on a plane one time, and I just mouthed, "I love you," and she just, "Thank you." I'll go back to
That is
coach now. I'll go back to coach
yeah,
now.
exactly. That's very Annalie Ashford.
She seems very sweet. So this Golden Girls podcast, you're doing a deep dive Golden
Yeah.
Girls, which I love, by the way. I like whenever I watch Golden Girls. First off, everything still hits.
Oh, still hits.
It still hits.
Some of it hits too hard. There are things
Yes.
that you're like, oh, we can't make jokes like that now. Like the world has changed. But other than the one or two jokes every now and then that you could never make, and we can't even talk about them. Even to say there's a joke here that we're not going to talk about because it's that bad.
Right.
But other than that, everything really still hits. The comedy is perfection. It is every second as funny as it was in 1986.
Yeah.
Thematically, it all still holds up.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Has there been anything surprising, like theme-wise, as you've been rewatching that you're like,
Well,
'cause I remember watching it as a kid and
me
being like,
too.
oh, okay, these are silly ladies that remind me of my grandma. But like when I watch it now, I'm like, this was a very adult show.
Very adult. The sex jokes are hilarious, but the thing
Yes.
that I always think about is like the gay characters, because it feels like if you were to like if you couldn't see the outfits that they were wearing,
Mm-hmm.
and, like you would watch this show now thinking it took place today because it was so progressive on gay stuff.
Yeah.
It was like Blanche's brother shows up and she's got a little bit of a thing, but she gets over it in 2 seconds. The way that
Yeah.
would still happen today.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Dorothy's brother is a quote cross-dresser, though we have theories on all that. But like the family's fine with it, and it's the gay. It's just very progressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels so ahead of its time.
I was gonna say, it almost feels like we've gone back.
Yes.
Like, watching that show, you're like, we
Yeah.
were doing this back then. It's
I know.
weird to think of how like kind of stiff and how crazy people are about what is shown on TV now and all that stuff. And it's like, we were doing this in the 80s.
And the jokes are almost dirtier on Golden
filthy.
Girls than you would do on like network TV today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it is very it's a comfort show. It has always been like the national comfort show. It still is.
The song?
The song is just amazing. The comedy is just so fast. I make the podcast with Jen Samard, who's like
Love her.
She's amazing, and she's just this incredible comedian, and she literally will sometimes break down the science of a joke to explain how it's funny and how it stays funny, because she's just like such a genius comedian. So it's really fun to like learn those things.
Yeah.
That it's not just them like just naturally being funny all the time.
They're
Like,
like,
there is
it's a trained
science to it.
skill. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As a comedian, I appreciate the respect. That you
Truly.
just-
Well, because it's like, I mean, I don't think I could do that. Like, I always imagine, like, if I were an actor at a sitcom, like, I could never be. I think I can be funny off the cuff in real life, but if you were to give me a funny script.
But you know what? That's what I thought first, too. I was like, oh, I'm funny in person. I don't think I could ever write something. You could, like, you could.
Well, I wrote a
it's
book.
funny is funny.
I agree. I did my book came out last year. It's a comedy memoir.
Right.
And I will say the book sounded like me, which was all I wanted, was that I wanted it to like be in my voice and
wanted to
in
sound
my
like how you
cadence.
talk and how you as a person. Yeah.
And then I was very happy that they asked me to do the audiobook. So I got to actually
that's fun.
do the audiobook in the way that it sounded when I wrote it.
Yeah.
Which, and I make a podcast, so people are very used to my cadence. So a lot of our listeners would be like, I'm reading your book, I can hear it.
Yeah.
Like
I see it. I know
they
know
know
you.
my voice. They know what it sounds. But it was really fun to get to actually read it in the way that it sounded when I was writing it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And the book is available to buy. You want to
The
tell
book
us
is
the
available
title
everywhere.
of the book?
Yep, you can get it anywhere you get your books. If you
called-
want to hear me read it, it's on Audible.
Failure is not an option, which is a great title.
Yeah, failure. Thank you for emphasizing the correct not. But then the subtitle is how the chubby gay son of a Jesus-obsessed lesbian found love, family, and podcast success.
That
or
was
whatever.
too long of an original title.
They really wanted me to have a subtitle, and I was against it, but then I was like, if I'm gonna do a subtitle, then I'm just gonna make it ridiculous.
It's gonna be a run-on.
Yeah,
A run-on
exactly.
sentence. Well, okay, so Golden Girls podcast, we love the rewatch, but it does make me, I do have to ask the question then. You picked Golden Girls, like, why do you hate designing women?
We love.
Why not Delta?
We love it, but the thing is, the Golden Girls was the original.
It was.
So the Golden Girls deep dive. What we do is we do recaps of the podcast.
Yes.
We do recaps of the Golden Girls episodes, but
Yes.
we sprinkle in deep dives throughout. So we will, we'll give like a backstory of something that happened on the set when they were filming it, or
Which is the fun stuff.
It's so fun,
Yeah.
and we have a researcher who like helps us do all this research. It's really fun, but along the way, we learned about designing women was very much inspired by the Golden Girls.
I'm sure every comedy and when you think about it, especially because there's all these like memes now, like how we looked at women, because they say the Golden Girls are the same age as the Sex and the City, the new show, but like look how we portrayed these women.
Oh, it's
these ones are like,
unbelievable.
well, they can't even live by themselves, and then these ladies are like, I just bought a house in Gramercy Park, and I'm
starting
like
new
still wearing
careers
high
at
heels.
55.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That is the one thing that stands out about the Golden Girls. Is
How
that
we portrayed women.
How we portrayed women, and how it was a little bit like it sort of felt like it's called the Golden Girls, like they're in their golden years, and it's like
they're literally just like, look at these old biddies.
sun setting off in their nightgowns to the
in
lanai.
Florida.
But they still couldn't book it. They couldn't cast an actual old woman to play the oldest woman.
I know.
That's exactly
She
right.
wasn't even the oldest lady
No, she
either.
was the second
younger
youngest.
than B. Arthur. And
Younger
she was
than B.
supposed to
Arthur.
be 80 years old.
And Estelle Getty, her story is insane. She and this is all in the podcast, but the only real work she had done before the Golden Girls was like basically community theater. She had done for like 30 years in Queens. She did a lot of off Broadway stuff. She worked at La Mama all the time. And that was where she met Harvey Fierstein, who was writing Torch Song Trilogy, and he needed a third act. And she said to him, write a mom and I'll play the mom. And so he cast her as the mom in Torch Song Trilogy. It ended up going from off Broadway to Broadway. And then she took it on tour. And it was when she was in Los Angeles that the show was getting such good reviews that the producers came to see
saw
it.
it and were like, we
and they're
love
like,
this.
that's our Sophia.
Oh, I love
and,
that.
But she had nary a film credit or TV credit. The Torch Song Trilogy was her only professional play that she ever did before booking. And then at the end of her first year, they have this thing called the Q score, which rates your popularity and likability as a known person. You don't even have to just be a TV actor, but it's how sitcoms cast their shows based on how liked you are. She was like in the top 3 most known and liked person in America.
At that time.
That's she was
so
one of the
wild.
most bankable actors on TV for
And she had
one
never
season of Golden
even-
Girls.
See, that's amazing.
Wild, right?
I want to talk about if you're casting Golden Girls. Okay, if we have Golden Girls and you're casting it with current Broadway stars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who is it, and why Brooks Ashmanis is one?
Well, Brooks
Why is he
Ashmanis.
one?
Here's the thing.
He's got to be one.
Brooks. So
if I could say it, Brooks.
we can't even say his name.
Ashmanis.
I know, Brooks.
But he's got to be one.
Ashmanis. Well, let me
He's
tell
a
you this.
Golden
It's
Girl
not your
for sure.
fault that their name sounds like a
That he never
breakfast
changed
dish.
his name. I
Like
know.
you ordered that at Waffle House.
Exactly.
Brooks Smith.
Totally.
That's your new name.
I had not done theater people in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was, 7 years. I went and saw The Prom, and I tweeted, I will revive theater people for one episode if Brooks Ashmanis
love
will
him
come
and
and do
everything.
I know.
He can't lose.
He's perfect. So Brooks Ashmanis in my recasting would be Coco, but they would keep Coco. Do you remember Coco from the
I
pilot?
don't remember Coco.
So in the pilot, there's a gay housekeeper,
Named
and he's
Coco.
named
They should
Coco,
have
and he's
kept him.
only there for one episode. They get rid of him at the end of that episode, but he'd be there, but he'd be Coco.
Okay.
So Jen Samard would definitely be Blanche.
yes.
No question. Who would be like, oh God, who would be Dorothy? I guess is the question. Like Beth Level,
Yes.
Patti LuPone.
Yes.
Um,
Somebody strong and fierce like that.
yeah,
for sure.
Rose would be like. Could Audra do Rose? Like, would she just like?
Audra could do Rose.
You know what I mean?
think.
Like, Audra could be like a good Rose.
I know. I'm trying to think of like who plays innocent on
I know.
stage. Who, and I'm like, it almost is like Annalie Ashford, but she's kind of like not. But I mean, if we're going ageless, if
we're going
just going
ageless,
four
okay.
ladies.
Well, then it could be. Well, like Rose could be Kate Rockwell.
Kate Rockwell.
You know, like
yes.
if we're going ageless, that could be great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like who would be like a good Sophia. Oh, Orfeh. would be like a great Sophia.
Orphe is Sophia.
You know what I mean?
She
Orphe, if you're watching, we know you're
We
about
know you're not
87 years
Sophia.
too
We
young for
know
this.
you're
We know, and I meant to wish you a happy 21st birthday last week.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Congratulations on your first drink.
Yes. Oh, it's gonna taste so good. You don't even know what you're in for.
I love that. I think Orphe. That she fits right into.
Yeah, and then it would be
into
like
that.
Danny Burstein as Stan.
Danny Burstein can do no wrong in my book.
Can do no wrong. I'm trying to think.
Stan.
Yeah. Yes. Who would play like Frida Claxton, the mean across the street neighbor?
Ooh,
like Andrea Martin
Yes.
could be Frida Claxton.
Yes.
Why are we doing
or
this?
Even
This-
Christine Ebersole could do something
Christine
kind of cunty.
Ebersole
Yes.
would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, now on the theme of true crime,
Yeah.
which Golden Girl do you think would be capable of murder? Because I think a few of them.
Oh, well, Dorothy definitely's got some bodies in the basement.
I mean, Dorothy and Sophia, I think we've got a little mother-daughter
No question, but I gotta
duo.
tell you, Rose. So the thing that we did that you forget about Rose,
Yeah.
she's incredibly competitive. Like she's incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
So and you would never think that she would have done it. And also, this was like a time before DNA.
Yeah.
So like
You could get away with anything.
You could get away with
I always say it's
anything.
like everybody should have
She's
murdered
playing
people.
dumb because of the bodies.
But that's exactly right.
Because they
And we
are
find out
hidden.
Yeah.
Miles, her boyfriend in like the last
Miles,
couple of seasons, goes into the witness protection program. So there's something going on there.
Rose has got some secrets
Rose has got secrets.
in St. Olaf.
Yeah, no question.
Okay, you
Yeah.
know what? That's an interesting point because I never.
You never would have
Because
suspected
Sophia
her.
and Dorothy are the obvious choices.
They're a little, and she's gonna point in their direction. Like she's gonna be the one that's gonna be like
for sure. I will
sidebarring with the
believe her
detective.
because she's just smiling.
Yeah,
I
because
love that.
Dorothy has like a rage problem. So like Rose will say that one thing in front of the cops to set Dorothy off and make her like scream, and then Rose has got her. Then Rose has got her.
She's got her.
She's got her.
She's just oh, I didn't take her. That was the plan all along. What if that was the ending of Golden Girls the whole time?
Oh my God.
So Rose just fucking buried them all. She was like,
It just ends with her like walking through the living room with a shovel.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
yeah, with just a bloody knife, being like, dun 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 dun.
A real dark turn. I
The
love
cops
it.
Took a
see the
real
bloody
touch.
shovel and they're like, "Give me that!
Totally.
What do you do with that? Oh, I don't know." And then she just
I don't know where I am.
she jumps over the door of an open convertible and
Totally,
rides off into the
totally.
sunset.
She
Yeah.
Takes off her
Sunglasses.
wig. She just has long brown flowing
She's
hair.
23.
She's 23.
It actually is Annalie Ashford.
It is Annalie Ashford. I love that. I think we should make that.
I
think
love it.
it's written. It's
I see
written.
nothing standing in our way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, so True Crime Obsessed, though, it is, because it is a crazy shift to go, like, because Broadway, obviously, yeah, it's kind of, and then True Crime is dark, it's deep.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that you guys recap, and how many years have you been doing the podcast?
8.5 years.
Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy.
That there's never not a documentary out.
Well, let me tell
There's
you.
so much true crime.
Yeah, so True Crime Obsessed started with my co-host Jillian Pensavalli.
Yeah.
We met because we both made theater podcasts.
Yep.
She makes the Hamilcast, which
Yeah.
is a Hamilton podcast. And we met through that world, and we became friends, and I wanted to make a true crime podcast, and so did she, and we sort of
Yeah.
put our heads together.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like, long story short, this is kind of where we landed, was like, let's recap true crime documentaries. And but back in the day when we started, true crime documentaries weren't a thing. It was just
Because
before.
now there's like a new one every.
I know.
One just came out.
You'd get a couple, exactly. You'd
Yeah.
get a couple, maybe a year, but there was
That's
no,
true. That's
there
true.
weren't streaming services. This was before Netflix was streaming. This
Yeah.
was before Hulu. This was before Max and all of that. So like we were, like HBO would make like the West Memphis 3 documentaries,
Mm-hmm,
you know, and there was like, you know, there was probably a library of like 60 or 70 that maybe not even that many. And we were getting kind of like, you know, are we going to run out of documentaries here?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, streaming services popped up, and true crime documentaries are not that expensive to make, which is why they
That's
make
why
so
there's
many
a
of
million
them.
That's me and my husband were just talking about this.
Yeah.
I was like, we were on one of the streaming. I was like, Jesus. I was like, look at
know.
all these like.
I know.
And I was just, and he's
And
like,
people
yeah,
are
they're
insatiable.
nothing.
People,
We
you
talk
can,
about this. True crime fans, especially,
yeah,
are
you can
like
never get enough.
they want every detail,
Yes.
and they'll like get on you if you
And
forget
they'll-
a freaking.
Some of them are getting a little aggressive. They're like, "Did he take one Snickers bar from the
Oh,
gas
yeah.
station, or two?" And it's a
Exactly.
4-part
Really?
documentary. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's 83 cents worth of candy.
I know.
Like, let's stop.
I know. But they'll also watch they'll listen to my Jean Bonnet episode. They'll listen to your Jean Bonnet episode. They'll,
And,
you know.
when I had mine, they'd be like, the episode that so and so did was so much better than theirs, and it's like, man,
Yeah.
we're not competing for best retelling of a child's death.
No, exactly.
We are not competing, but it
exactly.
is-
And that's
They
its
get
own-
really upset.
The
What's
comment
best
section-
retelling of somebody retelling the retelling of
The
a story?
retelling.
Exactly. Exactly.
crazy.
It's a game of telephone at this
It's
point.
the true crime documentary of the comment section alone.
It is.
It's his own true crime
Because you know
documentary.
that there's these people are not like they're
well.
not all.
No,
They're very
These
unwell.
well, and you know there are people who can like be online responsibly. Like we are really involved in our online community. We have a Facebook group of like.
It's just great. Yeah.
Yeah, our Facebook group was like 59,000 people, but one
Amazing.
of the first things we did was hire a full-time moderator whose sole job it is
To just, like,
keep
weed out the
it's-
weirdos.
and keep it a safe
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
you know, and keep people on track. Not that you have to talk about our podcast or the episodes. You
Right.
can talk about anything, but we do have rules, and that's what I always say to creators is you need like strict rules that you stick to, and you need somebody to make sure that people are sticking to them. Like there is a way to have a functional online community
Totally.
that is mostly positive.
Even
you know?
if even if the subject matter is
Yeah.
true crime.
And, you know, we found it to be so helpful because it really brings people together. People live in
Yeah.
far-flung areas and they want to
Yeah.
make friends, and their friends don't understand why they're obsessed with true crime documentaries, but you can come onto the Facebook group and now
people
you're
get it.
surrounded,
Yeah.
you know, by like-minded people.
And it's also like it is like true crime now. I think has a bigger umbrella because there are like now just like scams.
Oh, yeah.
And like cults and like behind the
Yeah.
scenes at Abercrombie, and
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I want to see what happens.
I
Because
know.
I watched that and I was like, I felt that way when I saw the bags.
Oh, I know.
wanted to
I
be in a
know.
forest romping with hot boys in jean shorts.
Who doesn't?
And I
you
was
know?
like, if I wear
I'm
Abercrombie,
like wanted.
maybe
Is there
my
an
summer
ED
will
on
be-
that word?
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I mean, you know, that's
It's
like
currently still want.
still wanting.
You hear that?
But it's, you know, yeah, there are so many genres, and the sad thing, Jillian and I always say, like, put us out of business, stop killing each other, and we'll go back to bartending. Not that we want to go back to bartending, but we gladly would,
Yeah.
you know, if it meant people would stop murdering each other.
It is.
Thank you.
It's not a lot to ask.
I know.
Is there a documentary that has stayed with you?
Yeah, so many.
There's
I
one
mean,
that I couldn't watch because I was like scared to watch.
Which one?
The Gabriel Fernandez, because I knew about the story about the kid.
Oh, about I didn't watch that
I
one.
couldn't watch it.
Yep.
I
People
was
told
like,
me not
I
to
know,
watch it.
But people were like, did you see it? And I'm like, I have no, it was
Yeah.
a little too much for me. And, you know, like I told you before, like becoming a mom, because I wonder, because I know that you're a father.
Yeah, yeah.
And like discussing some of these harder things, like, are you able to kind of shut it up? Because like once I had my daughter, I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Because I didn't like seeing all this. Like, is it hard for you to kind of shut it off as a father of
I
a
will
daughter?
say, people at our live shows used to always ask us, like, how do you guys do this day in, day out?
Yeah.
And I
It's
would
tough.
say that I was kind of a true crime robot. Not that I wasn't
You have
affected.
to be. I would research and then I'd forget.
Well, for what was happening, what I learned was that the way my process is, we watch the documentary during the day. We
Mm-hmm.
watch it separately. We both take crazy notes. It takes me many, many hours to get through it. And so that is upsetting. But then I sit down with one of my favorite people in the world
Yeah.
and we get to talk it out
Yeah.
for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so by the time we're done with the recording, I've sort of processed my feelings on everything.
And it's out of your system.
And it's kind of out of my system.
Yeah.
Now, that changed as my daughter got older.
Yeah.
Now that, like,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
with kids is really, really
It's
hard
tough.
for me.
It's
yeah.
really tough.
Jillian has that with animals. We've never really covered animal stuff because she feels about animals the way that I feel about my daughter, you know?
Right.
But, you know, we really always... Like, we believe in the work that we do. We believe there's really value in what
Yeah.
we're doing. That, you know, we're advocates and we do everything we can. You know, we don't just talk about these cases. Whenever we can, we find people from the cases. We do interviews with them
Amazing.
outside of the documentary and
Like the
ask how we can
resources
help
and
and
things,
ask what
yeah.
we can, what can we learn and what should we know and you know, how can we sort of take the lessons from these things.
Yeah, and I think that's the right way to do it, especially if you have a true crime podcast that is also a humor that
Totally.
is also like, because it is a fine line to walk
Yeah.
about talking about these things
Yeah.
and like bringing up and kind of being lighthearted about certain aspects when then you have to kind of walk the line, and I think that's
Yeah.
a great way to do it.
We certainly were not the first true crime podcast that infused humor.
Right.
You know, My Favorite Murder was that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, like, they walked so we could run, or whatever the expression
Totally,
is. Like, we
totally.
stand on their shoulders.
Yeah.
But I do think that, like, there's several now. And, you know, I can only speak for us and say that Jillian and I, you know, in the very beginning, we never thought we were funny people. Like we would do our live shows. Like I remember at the Wilbur in Boston, it was 1,100 seats and we were sold out. Yeah. But I remember standing backstage with Jillian being like, they expect us to go out there and make them laugh. Like we're not funny people. And then of course we go out there and it's just our banter with each other.
Yeah, that's what they come to see.
Right.
You know?
And so we never set out to make a comedy podcast ever. And we realized that our humor always came from, you know, our rage at the idiot prosecutor or the idiot defense attorney or
the cops that didn't do anything at the beginning.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, so it was never laughing at the victim or the crime or, you know, and we have a close relationship with our listeners and we would listen to feedback and we would understand that certain ways and so our podcast has grown and evolved and, you know, we used to call ourselves a true crime comedy podcast. We don't anymore. We're a true crime podcast, but we process this sort of trauma through humor sometimes, you know, and we find that like our listeners find it to be cathartic to sort of be able to, you know, have that experience as well. That it's not just dark and scary.
Fine line. It's a fine line to walk, but that's, you know, why you guys have been so successful because you found you found the line.
We found it,
and
but it was all organic. I remember when we were recording our first episode, and Jillian is just so naturally funny.
Right.
And I remember being like, no, we can't. Like we can't be laughing at. We're gonna have to cut all of this. And then I listened back through it and I was like, well, what we're laughing at is it's appropriate to be laughing at this thing, you know? And so we are very attuned to that.
Yeah, it's I commend you for that because it's definitely when we were doing it's hard and people can really kind of be like, how dare you? And you're like, man, we all have to process this some way,
and
you know?
we've had conversations with many families, you know, of the people that we've covered. We were talking about Maura Murray off mic, and Julie, Maura's sister, had become. I wouldn't say that she was a friend, but we were people in true crime who respected each other and continue to respect each other. And the only reason I wouldn't call her a friend is because I wouldn't deign to do that, you know.
Right.
But she's become a really powerful true crime influencer, and you know she has her own following and she's doing great work. But in the beginning, we were so happy to be there to sort of help shine a spotlight on what she was doing, and you know, and I'll tell a story. Like there was a time that I was on tour doing a show about the Maura Murray case, and because we were known as a comedy podcast, and Julie and I had each other's phone numbers. We would text sometimes, and she had given her blessing to the show when we started, but halfway through the tour, she called me and she was like, my dad is really upset. He doesn't understand why there's a comedy podcast out there about my sister. And I was like, but Julie, you know, and I was like, I'm totally open to this conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I do. She's like, I know what you do. I get it, but my dad is not comfortable.
Yeah.
And literally we had, I think 7 or 8 more shows booked, and we didn't cancel the shows. But we changed in an instant what we were doing.
Yeah.
Because even though I firmly believe we were obviously not making light of the case at all, but anything that's going to do anything to harm the family or make the dad feel some type of way, even a little bit, of course we're not going to be a party to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's just one example of like, you know, we always just want to do the right thing, and we always want to hear from the families if they want to talk to us.
That's great. And this podcast actually, like you said, you're touring and you're doing things, and you guys actually did, coming back to your theater roots.
Yes.
You actually did a live show on Broadway.
Yes.
Which is wild. And I read that there was like musical numbers. And
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
So were they originals or like?
So-
but this is my. I was like, how are we infusing music into this? Because that is what's fascinating.
It
to
was-
me, that you made it a whole production.
Yeah, it was such a dream come true. Jillian and I used to joke that like, wouldn't it be fun to do this on Broadway? Wouldn't it be fun to do this on Broadway? And then one day we were like, why don't we just do this on Broadway?
Yeah.
You know, and then began the journey of like trying to find a Broadway producing house that would take us seriously.
Yeah.
And that was its own journey. But we ended up with Second Stage.
Yeah.
They took us very seriously. They let us rent their theater for one night. That's kind of what we did. But my husband, Steve, who manages us, worked very closely with Equity to put together an actual production contract for everybody involved.
Yeah.
So it was a legitimate Broadway show. It was not a benefit. It was not it was a one night only production contract on Broadway. It counts. So we were.
It's a credit.
Yeah. Truly. And it's not like we just rented a theater. We really did a Broadway show for one night. And it was, and we had Natalie Grillo, who produced the show, is here. And without Natalie, we never, ever could have done it.
Yeah.
But what happened was we had the date booked, and Jillian and I, just being kind of idiots, we're like, let's just go. Well, like, we're on tour. We'll just like do our tour stop in New York will be on Broadway. Like, that'll be great.
And then you were like, hold the phone.
And what happened was the
We're on
pandemic
Broadway.
happened.
Oh, yeah.
And my husband, so it didn't get canceled. It got postponed indefinitely.
Which then just changes it.
Yeah, well,
Changed
my
it.
husband, I remember we left the city for several months, and one morning my husband woke up and was like, should we like put some more thought into this Broadway show? I was like, sure. So we hired a director. We hired Bob Bartley, who directs all of the Broadway backwards for Broadway Cares, Equity Fights, AIDS.
Yeah.
And so, that, and in addition to all the other things that he does, but we hired him, and he was incredible. He came in, he has this like stable of dancers that he works with, and so we decided we were going to do like an opening number and a closing number.
Why not?
Why? We're on Broadway.
Why not?
Why not? And so that, we got to do like a week of rehearsals with these Broadway dancers. Then we got to and 3 of the Broadway dancers were making their Broadway debuts in our Broadway
I love
show.
That. And that's going to be forever.
Forever. And it's in some of their bios. And James Monroe Iglehart was kind of our master of ceremonies for the night. And we covered the documentary Killer Roll from Dateline. So it was sort of a theatrical thing. And it was just absolute magic. I'll never forget standing backstage, like, oh my God, I could cry talking about it. Like standing backstage, like 10 minutes before it started. And, the house was packed full of our listeners and they all knew what this meant to us. And it was like, at one point they just started like banging their feet.
Well, I'm sure because you had like, talked about it.
And we were standing there and we were just like, oh my God, like I can't even express how magical it was.
I mean, it sounds like magic because you are an avid theater goer as well.
Totally.
Like you still, even though you're not doing the Theater People podcast, like you still go see.
Yeah,
a lot
and
of shows.
I was that kid that grew up thinking I was gonna like be on Broadway someday, and then all of a sudden, it was funny. As part of the show, I had a slide. I forgot this in my high school yearbook memories. Like when you're a senior, you were like write your memories.
Yeah.
And I had written, "Give me 10 years and look for me on Broadway." And so we put that up. I'm like, it's been a little longer than 10 years, but I did it.
You're like, did I say 10? Well, you did it. And so I want to play a little game with you. As an avid theater goer, I want to play this game called Overrated, Underrated, or just the right amount of rated.
Oh.
Okay. So I have a couple shows that I want to get your opinion on. If you think that they were overrated, underrated, or just the right amount.
Oh, I'm gonna get myself into so much trouble.
That's the point.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
First, let's go ahead and let's do the big one. Let's give me Hamilton. Overrated, underrated, just the right amount of rated.
Not rated enough.
Not rated enough.
There in my lifetime will never be anything more brilliant. Now, that's not to say it's my favorite show. I love it.
I agree.
I love it. And maybe I'm speaking of the experience of you can never see Hamilton again for the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that experience was am I allowed to expand a little bit?
Expand.
Okay. Well, I had known Lynn a little bit when he was writing in the Heights. So I saw it in the basement of the drama bookshop. I remember it from I was at a rehearsal where he and Kerry Washington were working out a Nina song. And yeah, I mean, I went that far back with them. And Tommy Kail is one of my very first friends in New York, and he directed a reading that I asked him to do as a fundraiser in 2004. So I'm not friends with them, but I've known them for a long time. And I remember when In the Heights got to Broadway, how magical it was. But I remember thinking, this was pretty good. Whatever he does next has to be perfect, though, because he's like the toast of the town. And I'm like, good luck, Len. Like, it can't just be this good. It has to be perfect. And then we saw Hamilton, and I was like, that was perfect.
Now, were you somebody that like listened to the music before? Because I go back and forth whether or not I was excited that I knew the music or whether I wished I would have gone in blind.
No, I didn't know anything because, correct me if I'm wrong, the album wasn't out when it was off Broadway. I saw it in previews.
Okay,
we won the lottery, so we got to see it in previews. And
at the pub, or no, at
on
Richard
Broadway,
Rodgers.
at the Richard Rodgers. But I don't think any of the music had come out yet.
No, maybe not. Maybe
and
not.
so my husband and I were obsessed. We were obsessed with this actress that nobody had ever heard of named Renee Elise Goldsberry but we were obsessed with her from The Good Wife. And so Steve saw it. He won the lottery like on Tuesday.
Like,
and then
we have to go see
I
this
won
girl
it
from
on
The Good
Wednesday.
Wife.
But he didn't tell me. He's like, something's going to happen. I didn't even know she was in it. And so he was like, something's going to happen in the middle of Act 1 and you're going to lose your mind. And I was like, okay. And we're watching. I'm like, I think that's the girl from The Good Wife. And then she does Satisfied.
Yeah.
I lost my
I have to say,
mind.
Watching that show, I think until that moment, you're kind of like watching a show, and then when that kind of hits, you kind of go, like that's when I like went, holy fuck, like that's
it
was the moment
so
for me
out of
watching
body.
the show.
And I remember leaving. You know, we adopted our daughter through foster care. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry again.
Oh, no.
Because there's that moment in the end where. I can't believe I'm getting emotional. Where she's talking about the orphanage.
Yeah,
and
it's an emotional part of the show.
So emotional, and I like I am now. I remember leaving, being like, I can't talk. If I open my mouth to talk, I'm just gonna start sobbing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Natalie, what happened?
I love it. I love it. Okay, let's go on to let's go on to a next one. So let me see. Okay, overrated, underrated. Just write the new Sunset Boulevard. Because there's debate on this one.
Well, without getting too controversial, I'm gonna say
Mike's like, get controversial.
I'm sure it's great.
Have you not seen it?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure it's great.
Okay.
Nicole needs to answer some questions.
Nicole,
you need to answer some questions,
You got some
girl.
explaining to do.
Yeah.
Nicole, I understand. Mike actually saw Mandy.
Oh my God.
Mike boycotted Nicole.
What in gay hell? How was it?
I have to tell you, I could not imagine anyone else doing a better job.
And I saw Nicole twice, and I'm like, I can't imagine. I was so blown away with her. I saw it twice in 1 week.
The only thing about it was that the young version of her
Nicole's
is an Asian woman.
Looks exactly
It looks
like
just
Nicole.
like Nicole, and they didn't switch out that part. And I was just like, you know, when you're like in the edge of your seat watching something, you're just like, oh my God, and then you're like, what? It did throw me like out of my seat.
They do a lot of close-ups of both their faces.
Yeah.
And the girl is so the spitting image of Nicole that I figured they would have gotten a young Mandy.
But
I remember that from like my experience from seeing Rent, when they would have like an understudy, but then at the end they would put the film up and it was like not the understudy.
I told him I saw In the Heights on the West End, and they had an understudy for the grandma, but at the end there's a painting of the grandma, and you're like, that's not the same grandma.
That artist isn't very good. It doesn't look like her.
Sunset is very tech heavy in video and all this, and they did everything was with her. It wasn't with Nicole.
Yeah.
It was like, I was shocked because they do like credits and it's like really brilliantly done.
Wow.
But it was all done as if that
like
she was the star. It was really
I think
cool.
it was the right amount of rated. I was a Sunset Boulevard stan. But both times I saw it were before all the Nicole stuff came out. But then you have the argument of like separate the art from the artist.
Nope.
Look at how long MJ has been running on fucking Broadway.
Listen, guess who didn't see it? You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's
like
30 minutes too long anyway.
Listen, I would have loved. I am not a separate the artist from the art person.
Okay.
I am absolutely not.
Okay.
And Nicole, girl, you got off so easy. Somehow that news cycle ended so fast.
But she's not going to win the Tony, and that's what's going to get her.
Well, my whole thing is just like, I'm so sorry, but like, especially in the times that we're living in right now, I'm not going to give my money to a production that is like unapologetically, you know what I mean? Like, no, and I know it's not the production fault. I'm going to get in so much trouble for this. Like, but I was so happy when they ran Laura Osnes out of town. Like, I know. And Laura Osnes was one of the nicest people I ever met.
I saw her on a billboard when I was doing a show in Tennessee, and she was on a billboard or something.
Yeah,
like,
that would be a jump scare. If I was in Tennessee and saw Laura Osnes on a billboard.
I was like, there's Laura Osnes on the billboard. Yeah. Okay. Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, perfectly rated.
Perfectly rated?
Now, I know there's a lot of controversy. Oh my God.
I still love the music, but the show is kind of problematic. The second time I watched it, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
I know. But we didn't used to feel that way.
I know.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
I remember it was crazy. Like this was during my theater people days.
Yeah.
And I remember going to interview Rachel Bay Jones, and we were in her dressing room, and I got really emotional, which I swear to God I don't do all the time. But I remember saying to her, like,
prove it.
Hey, real quick, don't cry. Great job.
But I remember saying to her, and I don't even really remember the show that much. I don't remember the plot of the show that much. But I remember saying to her, like, he got away with it. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, that's.
In the movie, they kind of overcorrected a bit.
She told me that they did a version where he didn't. And it didn't work, and they went back to what happened. But in the and I couldn't even tell you right now what he got away with. I don't remember the plot of the show enough.
Yeah.
But I remember my experience of watching it and just being like totally wrecked by it.
Because the music is. The music is something that is. The music is phenomenal.
Yeah.
My
whole
You
thing with this show
can't
is like,
doubt that show, deny that show. The second you hear that dun 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 dun, and you're just like, oh, okay,
I know.
Like, it doesn't matter what happens.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, wreck me. I want to leave here. I want to be not able to speak when I leave.
I also knew nothing about that show when I went to see it, and I was very excited to see it.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm like, when is the gay stuff coming out? Like, I thought it was about a gay kid figuring out his sexuality, and I was like, when does he say he's gay? and just never
The whole time
happened.
you're like, so he wasn't gay?
I was like, what? I really had no idea what the show was about.
Oh, my
It was
God.
fantastic. I've listened to the soundtrack a million times.
Totally.
But the whole first time, I was like, at some point, he's got to come out of the
gonna
closet.
happen?
I like that you're waiting for it. They're taking the bow. You're like, gay? Question mark? Gay question mark? All right, Hades Town.
Oh, perfectly rated.
Me too.
Actually, it's in the Hamilton category of like, there's not enough accolades.
Yeah.
Rachel Chavkin to me is like Hadestown and Great Comet. Great Comet is one of my probably greatest theater going experiences of my life.
I mean, they threw dumplings at you.
Amen.
You got a snack.
I know, and I was starving.
I love anything that aims to be a little different.
Yeah.
And I understand it's probably a pain in the ass to completely uproot a theater, but like fucking do it more
Oh,
often.
yeah. Oh,
like
do it
cabaret,
more
like
often.
just
I
do
know.
it. Just
Well,
do it.
and-
It's so fun. Theater, I just wish it was like, I just love anything that aims to just flip it a little. That's why I liked Sunset, and that's why I liked maybe Happy Ending, because they use like the tech stuff that they use. You're just like, this is different. This is different.
It's also, this was back when I was
like
making
classic,
Broadway
but I like
Backstory.
different,
So
yeah.
I used to get to like interview everybody involved in a show, and then I'd make a documentary out of it.
I love that.
And Great Comet was one of the ones that I did.
Ugh.
So I got to interview everybody, like Mimi Lan, who did the scene, the set, and
Yeah.
I got to interview Rachel Chavkin and Dave Malloy and Amber Gray and all of the actors, and
Amber
it was
Gray.
and it was so when you get to be that inside a show, you kind of can't not just like love the living shit out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. And it's kind of unfortunate, the demise of what, I mean, like, I understand it, but it is kind of like a bummer, obviously, with the whole thing with like Mandy Patinkin and Oak and all that stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah,
how,
I know.
Because it
I
should
know.
have run longer.
Yes,
It was and it's sad that a show that was that good needed to kind of stunt cast in a way, because it's like, just go take a chance.
Yeah.
I promise you're going to have a great time.
Yeah,
And it was kind
totally.
of, it felt like they were struggling with ticket sales after Josh Groban left.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is really true. And it is a tough sell. You're like, wait, it's like 60 pages of like War and Peace or whatever. And you're like, what was
But
the...
it's a magic. It's
Yeah.
transformed. Yeah,
It was
but
like going
War
and
Peace.
stepping into a
Was it War and
different
Peace?
dimension.
No. Was it War and Peace, Mike? Will you look it up real quick?
Yeah.
It was one of those.
It wasn't War and
novels
Peace,
that
it was-
none of us are gonna.
It wasn't
ever
Anna
read.
Karenina. It
No,
was...
it was.
Wait, it is War and Peace.
Oh, it is.
War and
Yeah.
Peace,
Yeah, and it's like, because I
Like,
remember...
don't put that in the ads. Just be like, it's a club. It's a club, and you're gonna get a
exactly.
snack.
You're
and
gonna
you're
go
gonna,
for
you're
a
gonna
story?
dance on
Do you know
you.
Tolstoy singing? Like, keep that to yourself.
Yeah, that was a great show. Okay, now I have. Oh my god, I had so many questions, but I do want to talk about, because I do want to. Well, first let me ask you this fun question about theater. Is there a original Broadway cast that you would rack up debt to have seen that you missed?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, well, now that I know her so well, I would have loved to have seen like Jen Smart and Hello Dolly. You
Was
know,
she in Hello Dolly?
Yeah, she was right. Yeah.
I saw it with Bernadette, and I saw it with Donna.
Yeah. So you saw it with Jen. She was in the original.
Yeah. Well, okay. Oh, she must. Okay. Yes.
Like the original revival or whatever.
Because I saw her. I mean, I fell in love with her in Disaster.
Of course.
I was like, she was this nun that like sang a love song to a
jukebox?
I thought it was a
cigarette machine? Yeah.
No. Why can't I think of the fucking word?
Casino?
Because
Wait, because she's a gambler.
Slot
She's
machine.
Woo! I win the game. And then I've just followed her. I've seen her solo show at 54 Below. Like,
Yeah.
I've just kind of followed
She's
her.
a
'cause I thought
force of nature.
She's just brilliant.
I mean, I would also say like the show that like changed my life, that changed like the trajectory of my
Yeah.
life, was the national tour of Tommy.
Yeah, I
when
read
I
that.
saw it in like 1993 or whatever. So like to have seen it on Broadway, like that's what I would love to, like Michael Cerveris and Alice Ripley and Sherry Renee Scott.
Oh, boy.
And
Yeah.
I mean that would be a thing to go back and see. But I've seen, like all of us, incredible original cast. Like I saw the original company of Rent.
So that would have been amazing. I
like-
saw Drew Lachey.
Oh my God. Wow.
Which Lachey?
Drew, not even the main Lachey. I might as
saw
well
the
just
bald
see
guy
the
from
Jeff
98
guy
Degrees
from
and,
yeah. But I did see the original cast during that trip. Me and my mom were visiting New York. I saw the original cast of Avenue Q, which was fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then now, since I've been here, I've seen a million. I mean, I saw
Yeah.
the original cast of Hamilton, of
Yeah.
Dear Evan Hands, of Hadestown,
Yeah.
I mean,
Miss
like.
Doubtfire?
Oh,
Hello?
Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah, this first show we
Rob
saw.
McClure
is-
2020.
I think it was, yeah.
I
Force
love
of
him.
nature.
I think because I was a big Beetlejuice girl.
Oh,
we
yeah.
saw it together. I saw it in DC.
Yeah.
I've seen it like
loved
4
Beetlejuice.
times.
I mean, I
think
love Alex Brightman.
He is.
Yeah.
I mean, when he added the Jason Derulo, when he's like singing Jason Derulo,
He's
I respect
incredible.
any show that's. I'm starting to get tired of we're just gonna take this property and turn it into a musical.
Yeah, yeah.
But within the
Different.
first 30 seconds, they're like, we think this kind of sucks too.
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
immediately, like they're acknowledging it. I was like, when he talks to the audience, I was like, I'm in 100% no matter what happens.
Totally.
Yeah,
I'm with
I
you.
loved it. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to kind of tie in your true crime and your theater roots, and I would like to talk about a little Broadway lure, a show plagued with scandal. Let's talk about Rebecca the musical.
Okay, great. Oh my
so
God.
now you said you don't know much about the timeline.
I don't know really anything.
Kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
And there is a true crime twist ending
Oh my God.
that I found on Wikipedia.
Oh my God.
I gave $1
The
and they
place
told me
researchers go to research.
that's where they go to research. This is exactly what we need. So okay, so Rebecca was a musical, and it was on the West End.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what, we're doing this. We're bringing this to Broadway, and that was in 2008, and it was supposed to have a 2010 opening.
Okay.
Did it open in 2010?
No.
Absolutely not. In 2011, though, they said, listen, we're not opening yet, but we're going to announce our stars.
Oh, right.
And we have co-directors.
And who were the stars?
Sierra Boggess, or Boggess? Is it Boggess or
Boggess.
Boggess? Boggess. Sierra Boggess, and I don't know who the guy was.
You're serious? It's bogus?
It's Boggess.
So it's bogus that you don't know that it's bogus.
I know. Oh, sorry, Sierra.
One of the nicest
My
people
God.
I ever got to interview,
Is
by
she
the way.
nice?
She's incredible.
Okay. I like her.
Yeah.
I just also think she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay. So they announced, they're like, okay, we've got stars, we've got co-directors, and we're going to open in 2012. Rebecca coming to you 2012.
I totally believed it too.
In 2012, they go, we've actually hit a couple
Actually, we're rethinking
financial
this.
snags.
Yeah.
There are some financial snags. We're delaying rehearsals.
Bogus is being real difficult.
And we're calling it Spider-Man Into the Dark.
Yeah, exactly. And it's now Nerds.
Yeah. Which I would have paid any amount of money to
I would have
see.
seen. Oh, I love Rory
Oh my God.
O'Malley,
I
too.
was just going to say anything that Rory O'Malley does, I'm in.
I know. I want him back.
Yeah.
So they're like, you know what? We've hit some financial snags. We're delaying rehearsals, but it's going to open in the next season, 2012, 2013. Rebecca, 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
But then they're like, you know what? Actually, no, we have the money.
Actually,
We've got the money. We're going to open in 2012, but they were switching. They were originally supposed to be at the Schubert, and they moved to the Broadhurst, which already
That
isn't.
makes sense.
It does make sense, but if you're already switching, you're
Yeah.
like, okay, this is
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
thing. Okay.
It's a long walk from one to the other. You know what I mean? It takes years to move that set.
Yes, because it's a big staircase. And a lot of
Years.
fun. And then, so they announced, but they're going to move to Broadway. Okay, and then in summer of 2012, the two leads end up dropping out.
Who was the other one? Bogus and who?
I forget what the guy's name is. Mike, will you look it up real quick?
Oh, sorry.
Because he
I
wasn't a
just
name
had
I
it.
recognized from anything else, but you might recognize. So the leads drop out, and they're like, we have replacements. Like, don't you worry, we've got it, and we're opening in the fall. This was in the summer, okay? Then in September, they're like, you know what? Actually, we're going to delay rehearsals again.
Just one more time.
Rehearsals-
Karsten Lepper?
What? What did you just call me? Marston?
That's the only.
That was the
It's telling
lead-
me Karsten Lepper.
For the original, who was supposed to lead in. Okay, we'll go with
Right.
Karsten.
Karsten.
We'll go
Or
with
wait,
that.
hold on.
Yeah, I don't.
There's
think
like
that's-
15 different versions of this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
Okay.
messed this all up. Bring back Laura Osnes.
Laura, come in here. Swipe. Okay. So then they announced. Okay. So summer they replacements. September they're like, we're delaying rehearsals because we have an investor. His name is Paul Abrams. He is a South African man.
Okay.
He was supposed to give us $4.5 million, and he has died of malaria.
Paul!
Of malaria.
God. Is it true? Do we know if this is true?
You will
Would
find
you know
out,
how much
my
it costs to
friend.
die of malaria?
How much?
$4.5 million.
That's about what it costs.
So they're like, this $4.5 million that we needed from Paul, he's dead.
Unfortunately.
Malaria.
Yep.
So after about 3 weeks, they're like, you know what? We're going to go to rehearsals. October 1st, 2012, rehearsals are going to happen. Mind you, during this whole time, they've got a Twitter. They're doing Broadway in Bryant Park. They're
No
doing the
way.
thing. The replacements are singing the songs. They're like,
Oh
look
my
at
God.
Yeah, they're doing it. And then the day before rehearsal, September 30th, the day before October 1st rehearsal, they go, and we're not doing rehearsals.
Actually,
We're not doing it because
loved seeing you at
Yep.
Broadway and Bryant
Yep.
Park. That was a great afternoon. However,
Rebecca is a no-go because there was an investor that was had enough money to save the show, but got sent a malicious email.
I thought you were saying got sent malaria.
Got sent malaria. Got sent a malicious email that said I wouldn't get involved with this production. It's wrought with fraud and all that stuff. So he pulled out.
Signed Sierra Bogus.
Signed Sierra Bogus. So they're once again without funding for Rebecca. Okay, so around this time, the New York Times, is reporting that one of the investors, this Paul Abrams, R.I.P. malaria, isn't real.
Oh.
Okay. And the director or the producers, so it's these two producers, this guy named Ben and this woman named Louise, and they're like so hardcore Rebecca that they're like, listen, maybe we haven't met him. Maybe we've never talked to him, but he's a real guy. He was real. He was real. So, because they had brought in this man called Mark Houghton, and he was supposed to get investments, and so he brought in Paul. Okay,
Mark.
But this Houghton guy.
It's Mark Paul Gosselaar.
It's Mark Paul Gosselaar. Zach Morris came in and was like on his phone and was like, "I'll save your ass." But so this Houghton guy had been sued before for fraud, and when they started to actually look into the show's finances, it turns out that the 3 investors that he brought on, none of them exist.
Oh my God.
So this guy gets arrested of this elaborate scheme of promising $4.5 million to a Broadway show, which is just such a wild grift to me. I feel like I read somewhere and then I didn't see it again that it was like a personal vendetta, but I'm like, against
who?
I don't know. But he ended up taking all the advance, like he got commission on all these things, which he used to buy a yacht that he called Hot Catch with 2 T's. Hot Catch. You heard it here first. Okay. So he rips them off for like $40,000 or $65,000 or whatever. So they're like, okay, but through this all, the producers are like, I still want Rebecca on the stage. So we're going to extend the rights to 2013, and that's going to be our year.
That's it.
But then it comes out that the person that sent the email was the former press agent for the show. So the former guy that was working on the show sent this email to the one guy that could save the show. And so they were like, well, now we want to sue you. And the guy was like, I'm telling the truth. Like there was fraud. So then that happens and that comes out and everything. And so again, the producers, not deterred, they're like, we are going to have a backers presentation. We're having a fucking backers presentation. And they end up getting like $8 million.
No way.
How do we do this for a podcast? Can we send out fake emails and get millionaires to give us cash? What are we doing?
Paul? So they get $8 million, but they still need more money. And they're like, okay, in June, we're getting more money. And Rebecca is on for December 2013. June
What
comes.
a great month to open a show. You know what I mean? January, February, those banging
when
theater months.
Everybody is in town and it's warm.
Opens up December 26th.
Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah. Come see our Christmas matinee of Rebecca. So it didn't happen. June comes. They didn't get the money, obviously, the rest of the money. And so they're like, there's no rehearsals, no show. And they come out and they're like, 2014. We're opening Rebecca. And in the meantime, Mark Houghton pleads guilty. He ends up getting 3 years for the $65,000. And then 2014, because the producers at this point, people are like, do you guys have anything to do with it? And then they get cleared of any wrongdoing. They're just like, we just really want people to see this fucking musical. And so they bring on new producers. And in 2015, the show still hadn't come, but they said, 2016, we've got a target.
We started this in like 2008?
2008. So in 2017... sadly, the producers finally lose the rights to Rebecca.
Oh my God.
Ending the saga. And then the twist that nobody sees coming is that in 2019, one of those producers, Ben Sprecher, was arrested for child porn.
No.
And it is now 2023. It ended up going up in London, and the year is now 2025, and we still have yaunt. Is that a word? Have yaunt a Rebecca.
Oh my God.
Have yaunt a Rebecca. And, but I mean, that's why I'm like, at this point, it would be epic. Epic if they staged it.
Epic. And it's got to be Bogus.
It
Bogus
did also
or
get
bust.
put up.
It's got to be Bogus.
Or bust.
It got put up in Germany as Rebecca Das Musical. So I just want to be clear.
Welcome.
Okay.
Vistaka von Tugren was the lead in that.
So I just thought that was a little fun.
That is
little true crime.
absolutely
theater,
wild.
Theater crossover. Okay. And now, Patrick, we have 2 more things to do. And then I'm going to let you go. And I just thank you so much for being so open on the podcast.
My
We've loved
pleasure.
it, but you're not off the hook because we have a segment that we call, Mike, it's getting a little cold in here, right?
Hot scene, cold breeze.
hot scene told read. So we have a scene from a little known play called "Do It for Our Country."
Yes.
And listen, we do these scenes. We get people out of their comfort zone. So you are actually going to be cast as you're an action star.
Of course.
I am your wife.
Yep.
And
this all makes sense.
We are going to read. You've never seen the scene before. It's a show. It only went up in Pittsburgh.
Would have been Germany. It opened for Rebecca Das
Do
Musical.
It for Our Country Das Musical. So I will start. I will be playing the role of Persephone, and you are Cutter. Okay. So that's it. Then you're going to leave.
You know I'm the only one who can save the president.
What about me and the...
You know I'm the only one who can save the president.
Character. What about me and baby Cody? Who's gonna save your wife and little baby boy? Because it's not you, Cutter.
Damn it, woman, I love you and Cody more than anything, but you know I have to do this. The fate of the entire world rests in my broad, hulking shoulders. I don't ask for these skills, this strength, this physique, but I have it, and I will do what it's right.
What's right is for you to stay here with your family.
Baby, I love you, but you know I can't do that. Not with these guns.
Fine, go and save your precious the president. And I guess I'll take Cody with me today, even though it's technically your day and I was supposed to have a day off.
Come on, Persephone. They have the president, and I gotta save him with my powerful man skills.
Oh my God! Then why don't you use your special skills just to marry the president?
You know I don't want to. You know I don't want to be with anyone but you. But now I need to take this oiled up body of mine, grab my gigantic weapons, and use my biceps to save the world.
Isn't that nice for the world? Meanwhile, it'll just be me and Cody. Guess I'll strap him to me while I grocery shop for us, Cutter.
Baby, Cody's 19. Maybe it's getting unhealthy for the boy.
Well, I'm sorry. His daddy figure is always off saving the world, even though he specifically said he would spend the day with him so Mommy can run errands in peace for once.
This rock-hard, chisel-tight stomach of mine needs to do this, babe. I promise you, by saving the president, I'm actually saving all of us. Just think of all the praise you'll get just by being the wife of the guy who saved the president of Target.
Well, it would be nice to be like a celebrity.
That's the spirit. Okay, babe, I gotta go. Kiss my pecs for good luck. I love you.
And I love Target. Ding! Great job, Cutter!
Oh, my God.
All right, and then the pen... Yes, applause in this area. And then the penultimate question that says a lot about you, who you are.
I was watching that like I was watching the first time I saw Dear Evan Hansen. It's like, when is this guy going to be gay?
Two targets. Gay! Okay.
God, why does everybody think I'm gay? Is it the husband?
It was the pecs and the oil.
Oh, it was the pecs and the oil. Yeah.
You got into that part, Patrick.
The pecs and the oil. Come on, babe.
All right, and now this is the last question we ask everybody. It says a lot about who you are. Which Jellicle cat are you most sexually attracted to?
I don't know the names of any of them, but the one that Tyler Hinds did in the revival, the sexy one.
Which one is the sexy one?
What's the sexy one?
Which is what song? What song?
I don't know.
James Corden?
No, he's like the Mr. Mistopheles.
Mr. Mistopheles?
Mr. Mistopheles.
Magical Mr. Mistopheles?
He's like the sexy one, right?
Oh, no. Okay, that means you share information on the internet. Dang. Dang. Didn't know.
Rum Tum Tugger?
No.
Rum Tum Tugger, that's who it is.
Oh, okay.
It's Rum Tum Tugger.
Oh, well, that means you're a total fuckboy. So, shit, Patrick.
Well, both things can be true.
Both things can be true. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tell people where they can find you, where they can follow you, and support you.
So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok while it remains. It's at Patrick Hinds _. True Crime Obsessed you can find anywhere you get your podcast.
All
Golden
over.
Girls Deep Dive Podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. And that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. We'll see you again. Bye.
Bye, babe.